1-0. What a start for Philadelphia.
They're off to a good start. Doesn't matter. This game is ours as soon as we settle down.
Hello, Steph Curry with back-to-back threes.
Uh-oh. Hits it at the buzzer.
Joel says, come at me.
Steph Curry now 11 straight games with 30 or more.
This guy is absolutely ridiculous.
Steph Curry with the shot. Guys, it's ridiculous. He's setting records every night. 49 points last night against the Sixers, 20 of them in the fourth quarter alone. Stephen A., we know there's been a lot of greats to play point guard. Is he the greatest point guard ever?
No, he's not. I wouldn't go that far. He's not the greatest point guard ever. He's the greatest shooter that has ever lived, period. And because of that, his impact on the game is so profound, we cannot ignore that. But when you think about a quintessential point guard, somebody that knows how to be a floor general and run a team, and you're a facilitator for others. Well, now we're talking about Irvin Magic Johnson. We're talking about Isaiah Thomas. We're talking about Chris Paul, who just passed Magic Johnson as one of the top all-time assist leaders in NBA history. I mean, this is what we're talking about here in terms of quintessential floor general point guards. Steph Curry, his impact is what makes him debatable because he's a point guard. And as a point guard, your impact on the game is so profound because you're the greatest shooter who's ever lived. You're the greatest shooter God ever created. That's the difference. So in terms of impact, that's why you have people that literally say, well, you know what? He might be the greatest because he plays the point guard spot. You're talking about impact. But when I think literally point guard, I'm thinking about a floor general, somebody who runs the team, an extension of the coach on the floor. That's not Steph Curry. Even though he can play the point guard, he can handle, he can pass. Obviously, he's the greatest shooter, et cetera, et cetera. There's a difference between being the greatest shooter and having a profound impact and being the quintessential point guard. A quintessential point guard is a floor general. That's different. He's not the best ever there, but he is the greatest shooter we have ever seen on the planet Earth.
Yeah, I think everyone acknowledges universally he's the greatest shooter of all time, as you pointed out. Like in every way you can shoot the ball. He's the best who ever did it, right? Okay. But I heard you say last week, and we got into it briefly, that, he has to start to be considered in that conversation with Magic Johnson as the greatest point guard ever. And here's my problem with that. Okay. Steph Curry is one of the maybe 3 or 4 most influential players ever. There's no doubt about his influence. Look at the way the game is played. That's Steph. He changed the game. Only a handful of guys have come along and changed the game. He's one of them. But we have to take them in the context of their own league. Steph in his day was obviously no better than Magic in his day. Magic was one of the 2 or 3 best players in the league every year he played. A lot of times he was the best player. Like they were number 1 or number 2 in the league. That usually has not been Steph. Number 1, in the context of his own league. Number 2, Steph Curry doesn't mean just because he once choked in the finals, he'll always choke. In fact, the last time I saw him in the finals, he heroically won a game shooting, which he had not done till that point, against Kawhi Leonard and the Raptors, without KD. I was very impressed with that, and maybe he'll prove more stuff like along those lines going forward. But Stephen A., the real answer to who's the greatest point guard of all time, the guy who runs your offense, is LeBron James. If you had to make your all-time team, you'd probably put LeBron James at the point. Leaving him out of this because he's a forward, just comparing Steph to Magic, Steph has had too many finals where he's not himself, where the Steph we see in the regular season doesn't show up in the finals. And I point to especially, you know how I say if the Martians have the death beam pointed at Earth, who do you want? Well, if it's Game 7 and you have the greatest record of all time, and you're at home and it's in the fourth quarter and you have the best half-court offense ever and you're the conductor of the offense, and it doesn't score a single point in the last 4:22, and as a consequence you lose? No, I got to see, you got to make up for that one. Magic Johnson, I will remind you, as a rookie, they needed a point guard, right? Stephen A., he's averaging double-digit assists throughout the playoffs, the finals, all this. When it got to a Game 6 against Philly, Kareem couldn't play. So now you have a game where Magic, we need different things from you right now. Yeah, you can average 10, 11 assists a game and we can win. We need you for points and rebounds now. And in Game 6, they're up 3-2. Magic gives you 42 points and 15 boards. He gives you exactly what you need to win. Magic Johnson was usually the best player on the team because Kareem was on the second half of his career. They won 5 chips. That has not been Steph Curry. You can't put him in the same category with Magic.
I can put him in it because it depends on what I'm looking for. If I have Magic and I have Worthy and Kareem and Byron Scott and Norm Nixon before that and Michael Cooper, and I'm running a fast break and I'm distributing the basketball, that's a certain style. In Golden State, I got a point guard who's the elite marksman the game has ever seen. So even though he's dribbling the ball, he brings it past half court. He gives it to the Draymond Green, who's a point forward. And by the way, he's running all over the place because his conditioning is off the charts. And even though he's the point guard, he's the one we're looking to get the ball to shoot, because he's the one with the most accuracy. So what I'm saying to you is that when I was talking about Magic compared to Steph Curry, because they both played a point guard position, Magic's a true point guard that's running a show, and he's the greatest. Steph Curry is the greatest shooter. If I want a shooter based on the personnel I have with me, okay, and I'm looking at the Kelly Oubres and the Andrew Wiggins of the world and others who can play but not necessarily can shoot the basketball, then I want him. If I got cats that can finish at the basket, that can fill the wings, that's going to finish off fast breaks and stuff like that, then I want Magic. I'm saying to you, Magic and his greatness cannot be denied. And I understand that. But the reason I brought up the discussion is because what I was trying to ask basketball people throughout the world was, what's your preference? Whether it's going to the park, Rutgers in New York, West 4th Street, 135th in Harlem, on Lenox Ave, the Bronx, whatever the case may be, Southside Chicago, Compton, LA, Long Beach, wherever you want to go. Who do you want? I'm asking that question to basketball purists because even though we can appreciate the greatness of a Magic Johnson, we still find ourselves saying, depending on the personnel we have, we might want this. If I go to the park, Max, and I don't want to get off the court because runners up. So the bottom line is you waiting, and if you lose, you might have to get off the court for the next several hours. Well, guess what, Max? If I'm looking at the other 3 guys and I'm saying none of them can shoot, then my 4th guy needs to be Steph Curry. But if I got cats that could put the ball in the hole, I'm going to want Magic. It's a preference question.
Yeah.
That's why I brought it up.
They do different things. Yeah,
That's why I brought it up.
That's do different things. But, all right, but let me bottom line it. I'm starting a team. I'm trying to win as many championships as possible. I'm taking Magic over Steph. I'm listing the 10 best players who ever lived. Magic is on the list. Steph is not. Magic is better than Steph at basketball. Now, Steph is playing in an era. No one shot the ball as much from 3 ever that they're doing nowadays, and that's because of Steph Curry. Steph had an imagination big enough to say, "Who says I can't shoot from back here?"
That's according to you.
For me, Steph is the top 10 player of all time.
For me, no. What I'm saying is, for me, if I see a guy and you told me coming out of college that Steph Curry could shoot like this. This is what he's going to do on the NBA level. I'm telling you, there are some people who would pick him ahead of Magic. Not because he's better, but because they want a marksman like that. Because when you have a shooter like that, that's the kind of dynamic they create. It's all a preference with basketball. And you see that with teams all the time.
Baseball, anyone? Okay, that's where we're going to go right now. Former slugger Gary Sheffield unloaded on CBS Radio about the current state of baseball. Here's what he had to say.